Welcome back. In our spotlight this morning, we've got some shocking new information that an ex-cop had a sexual relationship with the woman that his twin brother is accused of murdering. Former Stoughton, Massachusetts police officer Matthew Farwell is already charged with the murder of 23-year-old Sandra Birchmore, who was believed to be pregnant with his child. Federal authorities allege that Farwell strangled and killed Birchmore and then staged her death to appear to be a suicide. Well, now Farwell's twin brother, William Farwell, who also was an officer with the Stoughton Police Department, has been decertified and can never, ever again work in law enforcement. This after court documents reveal that he also had a sexual relationship with Birchmore. In fact, listen how disgusting this is. Allegedly having sex with her just days before her murder. Remember, she's pregnant with his brother's child, as authorities believe. So just let that sink in for a second. Now, and the allegation is that he also knew that she was pregnant with his brother's child. Now, at this time, William Farwell is not facing any criminal charges, but he and his brother and the former deputy chief, Robert Devine, have all been accused in a civil lawsuit by Sandra Birchmore's family of sexually grooming her when she was a minor child. She entered the Police Youth Explorers program when she was just 13 years old. Now, her family has filed a wrongful death lawsuit naming all three men and the Stoughton Police Department, I believe in her early 20s at this present time. But the allegation in the civil suit is that this grooming was going on when she was a minor child. How filthy, disgusting are these allegations? They're stomach turning. Let's bring in our guest now and talk some more about this and whether this could mean some charges for brother William there. He's been decertified. Is he going to join his brother Matthew at all? Let's bring in Chief Chris Anderson and attorney Franz Borghardt to get some insight on this. Chief, let me start with you first, please. Your thoughts?
Excuse me, this is troubling for my profession as a whole. You know, those programs, those young officers programs that we have, they have them nationwide, have been a pivotal role in recruiting and getting people to learn more about the other side of law enforcement. So it's troubling as a whole to see this kind of actions done by people who frankly should not have been law enforcement officers. But as the case goes and we learn more information about it, it gets more troubling. And I'm very, very, very disappointed by the actions of these men in this case.
Thank you for that sentiment, Chief. I know that it is certainly much appreciated by everyone, you know, who it was brought up, you know, to trust law enforcement, to believe in law enforcement, support law enforcement. It's important to note that, you know, a few bad apples don't spoil the bunch. And here we may be dealing with possibly some incredibly rotten apples here. Franz Borghardt, the family sure thinks so. The family is saying that these three groomed her when she was a young teen, 13 when she entered the program. I just looked it up, 23 at the time of her death. So your thoughts legally here. Do you think that decertified twin brother William should be nervous that he may wind up in the criminal court system like his brother Matthew?
I think he's absolutely going to end up in the court system, and I think the prosecution and law enforcement of that community need to be strongly pushing for it, because his actions, especially in the program that he was in, they have to make an example out of him. They cannot allow that kind of behavior. And look, protecting and serving doesn't mean servicing yourself. And it doesn't mean preying on the very young people that you're supposed to be helping and assisting. I absolutely think he's going to get arrested and prosecuted.
Franz, thank you so much for that. This is something we're all waiting for the other shoe to drop, so to speak. Thank you for laying that out legally. Josh Levy is the U.S. attorney in the district that would encompass Stoughton. And I want to go back to when he held a press conference fairly recently when Matthew Farwell, the brother who's accused of grooming her when she was underage and impregnating her at the age of 23 years old when he was charged with her murder. Initially, we know it was ruled a suicide initially, and there was just talk about it in the community. Let's listen to a little bit of what the U.S. Attorney told the public.
I'm not going to comment on information that's not in the public record. As you heard, this is an ongoing matter, so we're going to continue to look into this matter. And if there's other individuals that we develop evidence that they've violated the federal law, we'll proceed. At the time of her death, Sandra Birchmore was a 23-year-old woman with her entire life ahead of her, and she was pregnant with her first child. We allege that Sandra Birchmore survived years of grooming, statutory rape, and then sexual violence, all at the hands of Matthew Farwell, who was employed throughout their relationship as an officer and then detective for the Stoughton Police Department.
Now, we know that initially her death was said to be a suicide, but that didn't sit right with her friends and family because they were saying she was so excited to have her baby. She was 3 months pregnant at the time. They were saying she couldn't wait to be a mom. Nothing pointed to any indications that this young woman would want to take her own life. And then it was when the family brought in an outside expert, Dr. Michael Baden, to review the autopsy. And Dr. Baden said that she was strangled to death, that this was not a hanging as had been stated to be the cause of death by the initial investigators. He said she had a fractured hyoid bone, the hyoid bone in the neck that's not going to fracture with a hanging. I remember the late, great Dr. Cyril Wecht, God rest his soul. I remember him teaching me that years ago, and he said, always look, when you see that in an autopsy report, the hyoid bone, very indicative of manual strangulation. Chief Chris Anderson, your thoughts on this, how key that fracture of that teeny tiny bone could be in her neck in getting this murder conviction?
Yeah, so the hyoid bone being broken is very, very instrumental in any type of strangulation case. You know, that's one of the positions that a person has to be strangled in order for a strangulation to occur. So it usually doesn't occur when a person hangs themselves. The rope is usually a lot higher than where the hyoid bone is, but when you see rope burns and marks up in the higher position, but yet see that hyoid bone broke, it's usually a reason for a person to be very, very concerned into whether or not this case is a strangulation or suicide. Very, very good insight.
Thank you so much, Chief. You know, and something else I think is kind of interesting to note, we can end on this point, that at the time, the medical examiner who found that she died by suicide didn't send the fetal tissue for any DNA analysis. And Dr. Michael Baden, who, you know, is outstanding. We know he may be arguably the country's leading expert in forensic pathology at this point in time. He said that they never sent the fetal tissue away to determine who the father was of the baby. Why wouldn't that be done, right? This single woman, why wouldn't anybody want to know that? Franz, final thoughts, please.
I think this is going to be a case that comes down to dueling experts. I think, while I agree that it is highly unlikely that the hyoid bone would break based on hanging, they're going to find some expert out there that will duel against the state's expert and say, well, you can't exclude that, right? It just smells very suspicious, though, right? With the DNA evidence tying this law enforcement officer to the actual victim, it gives a motive, and then it's not a very long distance to homicide.
Right, great points. Thank you both so much for your insight and expertise. Chief Chris Anderson, attorney Franz Borghardt, thank you kindly.